everybody. We are the Perfectly Mid podcast.
At least 2/3 of it.
Or at least 2/3 of it. I'm Karlo.
I'm Steve.
And Emily is not with us today, but she's still with us in spirit. She'll be here soon.
Our podcast better third.
Yeah, the one that keeps us in check.
Yes. Oh no, what's going to happen?
What could happen?
Who's ready for the broiest episode? Because aren't we just the most toxic masculinity appearing men?
Toxic masculinity. I should get that tattooed on me.
Yeah.
Right on my chest.
I'm going to get it tattooed on one of my biceps, and then the other will say I clearly don't go to the gym.
Oh, I thought you were going to have like, this is toxic, this is masculinity.
That would have been smarter.
All right, so we got a couple of things to talk about today on our list. Number one.
The fall weather.
The fall weather. It's finally fall.
Yes.
It's finally fall. In New York, I mean, most of the East
I love
Coast.
that I turned this into an actual topic.
It's been crazy. It was
is.
80 degrees last week.
Yeah.
And this week it is a nice 40.
Yeah, 50-ish, 40-ish, yeah.
50, 40.
It is 40. It's 50. It's warm enough that we're going to attempt keep an eye on the channel for a short in the next week or two. We're going to try to record a little conversation on bikes, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll see.
Yeah, and if it's terrible, you're going to be looking at this video like, where's that short? What happened?
I hope
it should work.
I hope it comes out. And if it does come out and it's super shaky, I hope you're watching it on a really small screen.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Look Back.
Which way? You got some spicy stuff on the shelves. Oh, the movie. Yes,
Steve.
As if you don't expect this. Yes, Look Back, which I think we maybe briefly... Yeah, I talked about the theater experience previously. Yes. But now you guys had a chance to see it as well.
Yeah. So Look Back is... who's the author?
The author is Tatsuki Fujimoto, the author of Chainsaw Man. His first one-shot... Well, his first really, really big one-shot that he put out. It was right after Chainsaw Man Part 1 ended. He was off for a year. Nobody knew what he was doing. And on just about a year after Chainsaw Man had left, and 2 years to the day after the arson attack at Kyoto Animation, he put out Look Back, which was the length of a regular manga volume, which is very impressive to just work on in a single year. Some manga artists who work monthly or less than monthly don't put out that much in a year. Mm-hmm. It came out to massive critical acclaim. Incredibly huge names in the manga community were going out on Twitter saying things like, I am crushed. This man is in the same industry as me. How do I compete with this? This is beautiful and moving, and I feel insignificant.
Yeah.
Which is fair because the story in it is incredibly compelling. And then they managed to get Kiyotaka Oshiyama, mm-hmm. who was the director for the film, to work on it over the course of a couple years. And based off of his stories and things others have said, he worked on a lot of it himself.
Yeah.
Like a massive chunk of it.
There was not a ton of collaboration. It was like, I trust you to take this. This is your baby now.
Oh, not even that. I mean, team-wise. He didn't have... if you look at the credits...
Not only did he not work with the mangaka.
He physically worked on a lot of the... So, for your first point, yes. And I put out a video about it. I'll add a link, and there's an article on Shade Studios. Tatsuki Fujimoto pretty much gave him carte blanche. He was a fan of Kiyotaka Oshiyama's work, and I think he said he met with him twice in the interview that we did. He met with him twice during production. That's it. So almost no oversight.
And then the third time was the release, and he's like, we should have a party.
Yeah.
And then they didn't.
Yeah. But also, Oshiyama physically, which is very weird for a director, drew a lot of this. Wow. He drew and worked on and animated a large portion. I'm not saying he did 50% anything like that, but directors normally don't do that. And there's the typical Japanese work stories of he was for like 2 months sleeping at the office to try to get out. When they screened it the first time, it wasn't completely done. Like, it was done, you could show it to people, but he's like, I'm going back to the studio because I'm seeing things in this that I want to go fix now. Japanese mindset, which is why they set deadlines and like the movie's airing this date, because they'll never stop working.
Which is like, I don't know. I know we talk about like there needs to be better treatment of animators, but I feel like there's almost a romanticization.
Yes.
Of that work ethic, and like they sort of like doing that to themselves, because they do talk about, when you go to press lines, like they talk about the fact that they haven't slept.
Yeah.
They talk about the fact that they poured their blood, sweat, and tears to make this happen.
Yes.
Which, I mean, it shows, but maybe there needs to be
there's a happy medium between you give the creatives all the time in the world and they'll never release it because they it's like what the project manager says, you eventually have to put it out or you'll just nitpick.
Yep.
Versus the corporate mindset of get it out.
This is the date. I don't care what it looks like.
Put Uzumaki out. We're done. Put it out there. But that was the prior episode.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the background of Look Back, which I've given away. I personally absolutely love it. I bought the manga. I bought 10 copies of it, and I gave it to people. I gave one to you and all my friends who were like mildly into manga. Absolutely love the movie. I've spoken more about it. I have not gotten to hear your response yet. We've been sitting on this.
Yeah. So.
And you can. I'm not going to be offended if you didn't love it as much as I did.
It's interesting. So I do agree. I think it needs to be considered as a masterpiece. It needs to be up there with the Shinkais, with the Ghiblis of the world, in how we look at it, how we absorb it, and how we analyze it. Mm-hmm. That being said, it's a much. I mean, looking at Ghibli, looking at Shinkai, mm-hmm. those are smaller films, and they really are human-sized stories. It is a small story. The animation is gorgeous. I think, for me, ultimately, it's a bit too. I feel bad saying this, but it's a bit too obvious and self-indulgent. But when you look at it within the context of everything that had happened prior to him releasing this one shot, it makes it more poignant. Yeah. But for somebody outside looking in, it's like, oh, okay, it's an artist making art about art. It's like a hat on a hat sort of situation, right. Which, as an outside, like, taking myself out of the anime community, as an outsider, it sort of loses you a bit.
So here's a bit of the what did you think about it? And I'll then tie this into the brighter story. As somebody who is creative, arguably more so than me. I mean, you pursue obviously music, but you've been into creative endeavors for a while. Yeah. The story, if you're not familiar, it's about two young girls who meet in middle school who both enjoy creating manga. I'm not going to go heavy in the plot. You can watch my video about it. And their journeys and struggles with being motivated to create art, dealing with somebody who is better than you at one thing, the struggles of being outgoing and able to like work the business side versus being unable to leave your room. Yeah. There's a lot of it about creating. How did that hit you?
I think when people make art about art in general, I think it can be a little bit too on the nose. And it doesn't leave room for the type of interpretation that I prefer art to have. I like a little bit of vagueness. I like a little bit of discover it yourself in my art. But I think where where it came to a head for me was the characterization of the main character. Really, it was, it's a stand-in.
Fujino? Yeah.
Fujino.
They both are.
But more like they really do a rich job of characterizing your main character.
Yeah, I connected a lot with Kyomoto personally.
And the second character, I think,
Kyomoto's the Hikikomori. Okay. Yeah, Fujino's the more outgoing one.
So I'm terrible with names, but the quieter one.
Yes.
I think they didn't do as strong a job of characterizing her as they did our main character, which is difficult because she is a quieter character, right? And it is a one-shot, so you don't have the time to really explore her character the way you would the main character. I think there's a lot of shortcuts to get there. Mm-hmm. I think, especially if you're involved in the community and understand the challenges that animators take onto themselves in order to produce this art, you really don't need that. Right, it's implied, you know it already, but again, outsider looking in, you may not. So when you look at the comparison between the two, although both are rich, again, this is like I'm ranking this of masterpieces 10 to 8
over the shoulder of Fujino.
Yes, and because of that, your secondary character can seem almost like a plot device rather than a character unto its own. That being said, because I'm ranking this against the Ghiblis, against the Shinkais, it still is amazing and way better than most anime films and most films in general. I would say as a person who likes anime and or loves anime and absorbs it and consumes it regularly, this is 5 out of 5. As a person who likes cinema in general, I think it's closer to like a 4, an 8 out of 10, just because there's a lot of context that you sort of need to feel the emotional heights.
Yeah, I think, and this is a counter, not to convince you, but just the way I perceive it is you're more meant to not. There's a fair amount of this that's show not tell.
Yes,
and more so with Kyomoto. So while we watch Fujino, like when she's discouraged by seeing Kyomoto's first art in like 4th grade, and then she spends like a whole year writing, and you see all the work she pours into it. And then it shows how good Kyomoto got. You're meant to interpret, like, Kyomoto's been clearly doing the same thing while also staying at home. And a lot of what is going on in her head, you kind of pick up through those context clues. So even though we don't physically see her, you can kind of, and granted, I've read this like 6 times, but like, you can start to perceive more what this other girl is going through just
Yeah.
from seeing her draw. Okay, clearly she was working really hard on this, and then the after effect of her flashing back and hearing, Fujino say, you know, you get better at drawing backgrounds if you went to school, and it's a throwaway comment, and
Yeah.
then
But it
clearly
has
you
so
see,
much behind
later
it,
you
yeah.
see Kyomoto take it in, you're like, oh, that's why she was doing the thing she was doing.
I think that's an interesting analysis, because I think it also brings up the concept of anime versus manga, where anime, because it's moving pictures, you have the constraint of time, right? And
Yes.
pacing.
And
So-
this whole movie, which they spent a lot of time working on,
It's
but
1
a
hour.
way smaller team than Ghibli
Yeah.
or Shinkai has. Not even, it's 50 minutes.
50, yeah, it's the length of Dumbo.
Yeah. Which is what, 2.5 anime episodes, although it's pretty much gorgeous animation the
Yeah.
whole time. So it's better than like just 3 random episodes of an anime.
Yeah, it's
they never drop the ball. They're never like, okay, let's trim a bit here to save time. For
But
something.
I think because of the constraint of pacing, you have to spend more time with your main character.
Yeah.
On viewing it, because you don't get to spend that much time with the secondary character, that they're minimized.
I've also seen it twice, so I had that effect of the second time I'd already seen what her actions were at the end to justify understanding.
I would venture to say it was more emotionally compelling reading it than it was watching it.
I would agree with that. There's just something about his art. Like,
yes.
This is in no way a critique of the anime, because the voice actors are spectacular. I love the art. Some of the choices, like when she's running through the field, and the
sound design is great.
That's 1 page, and it's like a 60-second clip, and you've got the drone over her and everything. The sound design is really, really good, which I've been noticing watching some anime.
It's very like minimal and well considered.
Yeah, and the music choices are really good, and especially like that most of the music has no voice, and it's just, I don't know. I started crying during the credits the first time I saw it.
It warrants it.
But I reread the manga right before, and it hit me just as hard on whatever reading I was on. Like, there's just something about his art and his line work, and the fact that he'll do like 6 pages with no words.
And you're also, when you're reading a manga, you have the liberty to sit and absorb and look at that art and really take it in.
True.
Versus when you're watching an anime, it's like they got
you have to keep up. If there's not that there's like crazy fast scenes, but like you can't take your time.
You can't take your
reading
time and
the
sit
words
there
and processing it. You got to move with it.
You can't sit there with them.
Yeah.
Right. The same way that you could.
Yeah.
But I overall like.
So you did end up reading it.
Yeah, I did end up reading it.
I liked the manga.
I think prefer the manga.
In no way a critique of Oshiyama-san. I don't think he'd be upset by that. I find the manga a better experience. I love both, but the manga is just such a unique experience. And it's because of Fujimoto. If it was a different author, like pick a different manga I did in Oshiyama-san took me an anime, I would pick his anime. It's just such a hard thing to compare to.
When you take it in the context of like he had just finished Chainsaw Man, and they had just had like the arson attack, like all of that together.
And he knew people at the studio, and so it's about
so heavy.
It's about, and this isn't even really a spoiler. It's about the struggles of being an artist and the demands that put on you. There's very, very obvious parallels to, I mean, literally Shark Kick. If you watch it, you know. When it stops, it's volume 11. That was the 11th volume of Chainsaw Man. The covers are literally just faceless covers from Chainsaw Man. And it's all he's going through. And then in the movie, an arson attack happens. In real life, it had been a year, but like he'd been struggling with it, and then he took that time to process and come back the same way that there's a comeback in that movie. It was very much dealing with his own grief about a specific event, but also the struggles of being a popular art, or just an artist in general who has to struggle with receiving feedback.
Yeah, and how that's processed individually, right? Like, do you fight against it? Do you take it and internalize it and not let it come out? There's so much in there. It's really deep. I think it's an easy recommend for people who enjoy anime. I think it's an easy recommend for people who enjoy art in their cinema.
Yeah.
If you're just looking for, Demon Slayer.
Yeah, this is not for you, but not for you yet. But I look forward to the day that you'll expand, in the medium, and it's such a spectacular story. Yeah. And it is worth, some things, not that you can't enjoy it without the background, but knowing the background of what happened to Kyoto Animation Studios, is, I think, very critical to better understanding it.
It's rough. You said there was an award snub?
Yeah. Okay, let me open with this. I don't think this is controversial. best animated film at things like the Oscars is usually trash, right? Like the movies that deserve it don't get nominated. It's usually Disney stuff. Last year, Boy and the Heron got it. It's typically an American film from Pixar.
Yes. Which no knock to Pixar. Pixar,
but just
great job.
They don't really give recognition to
the Academy Awards are really American.
So there's other awards internationally that are a little bit better, but this movie, which is personally my favorite animated film of the year. There's only one thing out that maybe would have competed, but it hasn't been released in the US yet. Colors Within is a Japanese animated film.
Is this 2023, 2024?
24. Okay. It came out this year. Because it's 50 minutes, and
it's not feature length.
It's literally not considered long enough to be considered for an animated film award, which I understand you need a threshold.
Yes.
I think for the work it takes to build an animated film, that should be lower.
Is it short enough?
It needed to be an hour.
Is it short enough to be a short?
No. I mean, he literally couldn't get it considered for awards.
That's so strange.
So they tried to, and when it was out, they tried to enter it for a bunch of awards this year and couldn't get it into anything.
That makes sense.
And there was an interview where he said he was like hurt or whatever, which is the Japanese for like morally crushed, because I'm sure for him he feels like this is the greatest thing I've made to date.
Oh, he said morally crushed.
He didn't say more. He said something along the lines of like, they were discouraged to find out after the fact.
It's a
they made
situation.
it that they couldn't put it out. Which is really unfortunate. Because I think this thing should at least be getting nominated, even if people say, "Hey, there's a better movie." Like it should be getting acknowledgement.
It needs the attention.
It deserves it.
And it's annoying too, because it's 10 minutes, and there are people on YouTube that make a 5-minute YouTube video 30 minutes long.
Right.
So
when I saw it in theaters, I think I told you they played an interview with him and interviews with the voice actors, and a bit of an interview. Tatsuki Fujimoto's in it too, and they did that to make it long enough to play in U.S. movie theaters.
Because they wouldn't take it if it was under an hour?
I don't know if they technically wouldn't take it, or if G-Kids was like, this will make people feel better about spending the money, but in either case, it bumped it up to like an hour 10 because it was like a 20-minute interview, which was nice. Obviously, you can't do that for a film festival, and understandably why, because it's basically like a 20-minute like emotional pitch of like, here's everybody who worked on the thing. But I don't know. International film festivals, I think, need to lower the time bar for animated films specifically. Think about how much this was years and years of work. Animated films are not easy to produce.
Yes, they're not easy to produce. But
and usually I don't think they're like 2.5 hours long the way that ones are.
I mean, now with the advent of computer generated animation, it's a lot easier.
That's true, I guess.
But I mean, even back in the day, you had Dumbos, you had Snow Whites, you had Hercules, Beauty and the Beast, right? Those were all feature length. I mean, it's a
feature length is like an hour and a half, though.
Yes, or considered length. I think Dumbo's like 50-something minutes.
Right, exactly.
Maybe.
It's not Marvel movie length, and
it's tough. But then at the same time, right? Like considering the source, I'd rather he honor the source material and make it exactly as long as it needs to be.
This does not need to be 10 minutes longer. I'm glad he found out after the fact this wouldn't have qualified, because I would have hated for them to think like
to stretch something out for no reason.
And I'm sure he could have done it just fine. Like there's areas where it's like, hey, if you gave it a bit of room, like expanded a little bit on them having fun or something, like I wouldn't have been upset. But seeing it, I'm not bothered.
What would have been good to extend it by the 10 minutes to make it
the middle happy part.
That would be great.
Just 10 minutes of them running around town spending
just to destroy you further.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say if they included like found footage or documentary style footage of the context leading to him creating this, right?
Fujimoto stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, I was saying, right, if you're a non-anime person, you wouldn't know most of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had that, or if you had a little bit of knowledge,
I would love it. I feel like it's probably the both of them wanting it to stand on its own without being like, here's why you need to emotionally care because these people were killed in a fire,
or at least to get considered.
Yeah. But I agree. I would have appreciated. I don't think they even said it in the interview, and I think it might be partially because he's not trying not to be like making it about him.
Yeah.
Like even if he's like, I did this because I lost people, like it's making it about him, and that's just not.
Was there a dedication in the manga or in the?
No, but it's just such an obvious connection point.
Well, I say go watch it.
Yeah,
go watch
please.
it.
And it's
can you stream it anywhere?
Yeah, you can. It's on Prime Video.
Oh,
it came out 2 weeks ago. I think I posted about it because I caught G-Kids did it. Which again, thank you G-Kids for being the best U.S. distributor. Like that absolutely needed to be on available to everybody. So if you've got Prime Video, and a lot of you probably do, Please go give us a watch. It's 50 minutes long. If you want to understand the background, you could read like 2 news articles about the Kyoto Animation fire. Or arson, it'll come up.
And when you watch it, do yourself a favor. Make sure you're watching it. This is not like a browse your phone at the same time. This is turn off the lights.
Look away.
Watch.
Yeah, and if you like to read the manga is available on. I mean, you can pick up a physical volume. It's cheap and would be great. But you can read it on the Viz app, the Shonen Jump app, whatever that's in the U.S. I'm sure there's other means internationally. But
yeah, or just
it's 160 pages.
Let Steve know. He'll buy you a copy.
Yeah, still got 1 left.
All right. Speaking of G Kids.
Yes.
Dandadan. What have you been thinking about the season?
Really enjoying it. You're caught up. You saw episode 6.
I did not see episode 6.
Episode 6 introduced.
We're spoilers.
Yes.
Spoilers. Jump to whatever time we say.
Yeah, I'll put a timestamp in. Episode 6, Ira shows up.
Oh yay!
And she's great. And the voice actress for her is so good. And she's every time she says I'm too beautiful and stuff. I think something Shoujo Bijin, I think. Oh my god, they nailed her.
Oh wait, did I watch episode 6?
That's where you meet Ira. She gets the bucket dumped on.
Yes, okay, then I did watch it.
And they show up at the end with Acro Silky.
Yes, then I did watch it. I am.
Yes.
So is this where does it stop here?
No. This is what leaked.
Oh,
so
okay.
The episode coming out on Friday should close the Acro Silky arc, and then Gigi should be showing up. I sent you a link, and not that you had to have watched it, of like breaking down the opening, but you can tell from the opening they show Acro Silky.
Yes.
They show Gigi and Ira.
Yes.
They do not show the character, or the spirit. So we see Gigi. So by the end of the season,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
because
so we're not gonna go to the mountain house.
No, so this
or the giant worm.
Yeah. So we'll be talking. I'll be really vague here, and then we can shift into spoilers. We'll see the school hallway. We'll meet Gigi. That will probably be where the episode ends, is Gigi showing up, or the season. The season, but
the season, or is it a core?
12. Yeah, the core. You're right, the core. I don't know if it's going to be continuous or not. They haven't said anything. I think it's because they're hiding that it is going to be continuous.
Yeah, because if they do, there's going to be more.
There's been leaks that there's 2. It's been leaked that it's 2 core, so presume 24 episodes. So that's probably why the opening doesn't show.
Crazy that this is a 24 episode season. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean TBD. Obviously, this is
Yeah,
a lot of stuff gets leaked. It's supposedly come from some people who've been pretty accurate before.
If it is a 24, assuming it is a 24 episode season. That is crazy. They're going to get through so much. This would end up getting like an Attack on Titan treatment.
Yeah,
where it's going to take
we'll
10 days to finish.
Start the manga spoilers here. I'll put in a clip. We'll get the Evil Eye, which will probably take because there's the village too. So that's probably like another 4 episodes. Then there's the body in the science lab.
Yes. We're going to get. I think we'll end the Godzilla fight.
We'll get the cow moment. I don't even know if we'll get to Vamola.
I think we'll get to. I think that would be like the end of the season hook.
I mean, it'd be great.
Like,
by the way, did you notice when
he was
in the latest episode when Okarun is like afraid to say hi to Momo, and he's like talking to the pole and stuff. He's like trying to come up with like what to say, and he's going like konnichiwa, blah blah blah, vamola, like, which is Spanish, and he said it, and I was like, wait, what? Oh, is that where that came from?
I watched it in dub.
So maybe he didn't say it in dub.
Maybe he didn't, or maybe I was like,
he might have still said it because he pulled out a Spanish word to like he's just trying to gear himself up to like say hi.
I'm a terrible, like, it takes me a couple watches.
I just heard it and I was like, wait.
It takes me a couple watches with anime to like pick up on like little Easter eggs, because I'm always just so astounded by the action and the animation. I'm like,
yeah,
that's fine.
Well, it helps there was a sub too. I did hear it, but I also saw the word and I was like, okay, I gotta go back. Why did he say that? And I was like, oh, maybe that's where that came from.
So you think we're gonna get Chiquitita?
Yeah.
I
think he's in the opening.
Oh, yes.
Because that's so little of a spoiler that they're just like, oh, it's just a UFO pulling up a cow. You don't know what it is.
Jennifer Lopez Anaconda!
Does that happens... Actually, that happens before Gigi. Right?
Does it?
Yes, I think it does. So I think it will be this season.
It's the worm.
Well, the worm is the evil eye, right? With Gigi?
Yeah, so Chiquitita's before that.
Yeah, because they meet
because he gets stuck in the
that's in the hallway.
Yeah.
They beat him, and then I think it's like after that where they meet him and the body in the science lab.
Yes.
So I think we'll get that, and then I assume the end of core hook will be, oh, this pretty boy showed up and he knows Momo. Yes. Oh no.
Yeah, and then
you'll get to hear him talk and make faces, and you'll be like, this guy can't be a threat. Yeah.
And then the next season, or
the next core will be Gigi, Evil Eye.
Gigi, we'll start with Gigi, Evil Eye, end with, what's her name again? I'm terrible at names. Vamola, Like probably like she gets knocked off.
They do the training before that when they go to the music classroom and they deal with
Oh
the giant
yeah,
Beethovens. That
you
was
get all the
before, I think,
Beethovens,
right? So
yeah.
they
So
might,
you get the Beethovens.
yeah.
But
I feel like they have to end it with like maybe just hinting at the Golden Ball and you just see the Godzilla, but like the season ends or something.
Or you see
Because
the
I don't
Godzilla.
think they finish.
I would think you see the Godzilla and Golden Ball. You knock her off, and then it opens up and it shows a girl.
That'd be a good end. That'd be a good
end of the season.
Shifting to the manga just briefly because you're
I'm-
relatively caught up. What are you at?
I think I'm on 160. So with the spoilers,
What's the latest thing you've seen?
the latest thing I've seen is Momo is small.
Okay.
Momo is small, and Okarun doesn't have his powers, but he's really fast and did a Deku baseball throw.
Did Momo get left in the library?
Yeah, with the little elf. That's all I've seen.
And the girl who came looking for her?
No, all
Okay.
I've seen is the little elf.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right?
This show, like a show. This manga, I can never guess where it's going to go.
Every time you think you're like, oh, he said all the major stuff, literally the next chapter, another big thing happens.
Yeah.
In a couple of chapters, somebody
you can spoil for me.
the health teacher,
Mm.
who's like appeared very briefly,
Mm.
shows up and like actually gets to talk a bit. And oh my god, she's not a mom, but like the MILFs and the GILFs in the series. Goddamn the health teacher.
Emily's
Amazing.
hate us.
I mean, she's so cool. I don't know, once she gets caught up and sees how the health teacher behaves. I mean, Emily's a tsundere.
Tell me about it.
This health teacher's more dere than soon, but she's dere. But in any case, the manga, it just continues to. I know some
it continues to surprise. It continues to impress. It continues to excite.
They keep introducing new characters. Where literally the only, it's not even a complaint, but like I think the cast of kids is a little large. Where like obviously they're not all together all the time, so like they shift in and out. Like
oh yeah, like Kinta's there, and then he's not there.
Mai shows up
there,
sometimes. Yeah, Kins is back appearing in this one. And,
they do a great job of leaving GG in and out depending on what's needed.
Random Easter egg thing that somebody pointed out, I saw pointed out on social media that I can't forget now is when Vomola joins them early and she like doesn't know how to communicate. Gigi tells her to copy him in something because he's trying to like teach her something. He just goes, "Copy me," and you'll notice it now because it's happening each chapter. When he makes faces, she copies his faces. And someone's like, because he taught her to do this.
I've definitely seen her do that.
And you're like,
face.
Why does she do it? It's because he does it. He'll do it and then she'll copy.
Because
she learned copy me, and he hasn't led her wrong. He's her friend, so she keeps doing it. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, every time she does it, I'm like, you're the most adorable. Did you vote in the popularity poll?
No.
So I can send you the link again. It might be done, but they did their first ever character popularity poll, and it's just a website, so anybody can access. I don't know if it's closed yet, but I went in. It was hard, and I was like, who do I vote for? I voted for Vomola at the end. As much as I love Momo, Vomola's just such a cinnamon roll goofball. Bundle of joy. I'm waiting for her grandmother to come back. I can't wait for that reunion.
I love all the characters because
there's nobody I don't like. It was hard. I had a moment. I was like, Ira's great and she doesn't get enough love. And then I was like, Kinta's so goofy and Gigi's so goofy.
And what I also like about it, similar to like I'm gonna draw parallels oddly here to Ted Lasso.
Okay.
Have you watched Ted Lasso?
I have not.
Okay, so you know about Ted Lasso.
Yes.
Okay. So what I love about Dandadan is the characters, yes, they do fall into tropes, but they communicate with each other.
Yeah.
They talk to each other, so there's never any like, oh, they don't understand each other because Momo didn't say this to Okarun. They spoke, and the reason they may not get along, there's character choices or there's actual plot devices pulling them apart in separate directions or making them not talk. It's done in a way that is not cheap.
It's circling back to that conversation, which is an oversimplification, but Heisei era manga and anime versus Reiwa, where it's like these two are like star-crossed lovers are going to keep miscommunicating and getting pulled apart right before they say anything for 400 chapters. And a lot more series are coming out now where, for whatever reason, a lot of authors are going like, why don't we just write them like real people? There's no way you're just going to let something sit for months and months and months.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Okarun and Momo like slowly move closer together. They just had the moment
but they talk.
But yeah, they keep getting closer. They talk through their problems. It lasts like a couple of chapters maybe. And then they both feel guilty and they're like, I want to fix it. I want to fix it. And they come together.
And it makes sense of like what 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds
It's very believable.
Yeah. I just continue to love this series, which makes me think like, okay, everybody's talking about what the next big three are going to be. So you have You have Witch Hat. You have
Oh, that's
Delicious.
the
The fantasy
big three
three.
fantasies. Yeah,
The-
Freer and
Free
Delicious.
Run Delicious and Witch Hat.
Yep,
which I'm really looking forward to.
reading what would probably be the number 4. I'll say that.
No,
There's a
gonna
new
be
fantasy
4?
series. It's gonna take a little while, but there's one I'm reading right now that should be right up there with them. But we're not there yet.
Okay. Dandadan. I feel like it, like as a shonen, it can't stand on its own. Like there's always shonen. What is going to meet Dandadan?
Well, so the big 3 is a little annoying. It's just a classifier. It was when One Piece and Bleach and Naruto were the blatantly 3 largest series for like a 15-year run.
Yes.
And then Bleach and Naruto ended, and people like, oh, Demon Slayer's in there
Demon
now.
Slayer,
and
My
Jujutsu
Hero,
Kaisen. It just
Jujutsu
kind of became a banner.
There's
for,
all-
like,
there's
one of the
always,
big
like,
sellers.
3
Blue Lock
big,
was, I think,
yeah.
the biggest seller last year, actually, because
That's
of
awesome. Yeah.
the anime. I don't know if Dandadan's gonna quite hit that height. I think it should, maybe in like a season 2. I think it's better than some of those shows.
I think it's
considered.
Yeah.
Like the difference is, don't get me wrong. I loved Naruto. I loved Bleach. I loved One Piece. I wouldn't necessarily say they were the best stories. Like
No, and
at times they were like really high, but I'd be like they're probably like solid 8s. One Piece is higher than that.
I don't think they did anything that improved the art form.
Yeah.
Past like what Dragon Ball Z was doing.
Yeah, they took it the next level of wider cast. Let's get more diverse with the powers. Let's not just throw energy beams.
You
But,
made it like
Dandadan-
they heightened it,
but
but
Dandadan
Dandadan
is, like-
transformed it.
Yeah, it's like how do we like let's actually like peel that stuff away. This is a good, entertaining story, and
Yes.
you care about the characters, and they're not all just dumb muscle heads.
Yeah.
And I think it goes more in the category of like let's try to get creative with the medium, and even
Yeah.
though they're different, I think if part 2 of Chainsaw Man hooks people,
Yeah.
which I think we've talked about this off
Yeah.
camera, but some people didn't like part 1 of the anime, and part of the issue is a lot of people felt it was slow, but the beginning of the manga was slow. Those
Yeah.
chapters are slow.
Yeah.
It ramps up in the second half, and I think that'll probably hook some people. I think Dandadan will probably get considered up there with like how big JJK got, because it's got like cool, fun action for people. Maybe the bros who only want to watch the action are going to get turned off by the romance element, won't like it, but I think there's enough in there that it will also appeal to female audiences, which I don't think. I think if you take away Gojo, I don't think JJK is as interesting for the female, not all female audiences, but I think there's a huge attraction to it of, oh, there's just pretty guys, but like I don't think they care so much about the story.
That's heresy. You never take Gojo away.
No, I'm not saying you should.
that's the only shit.
Yeah,
Gojo Geto. That's the only shit
maybe Demon Slayer.
ever believed
Maybe
in.
Demon Slayer would be a better example because
Yeah,
Demon Slayer's fine. I enjoy it. I own the box set.
Demon
It's
Slayer's
fun.
like classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Dandadan has a wide enough appeal because the romance isn't just thrown in there for romance sake. It's a good romance. It's good action. It's good sci-fi. This guy clearly draws a lot of inspiration from a lot of different series.
It's transformative to the medium. So you look at Dandadan, you look at Chainsaw Man. Are there any others that Fujimoto-san's like?
Oh yeah, so
his
Fujimoto's
what is it, his
assistants.
apprentice?
Yeah, I used the word apprentice in our last video. His assistants. So when mangaka have assistants who help them with things like background art. Sometimes they might help draw characters, things like that. So his assistants were I can't remember his first name, but Endo, the author of Spy Family. Now, assistant could just mean they're helping out, but like Endo is older, I think. Like Endo was a mangaka, so like it's not like he speculatively he probably knew what he was doing and didn't come away for. It's not like working on Chainsaw Man changed him. He was helping out Fujimoto, but his other assistants were the author of Hell's Paradise.
Oh, okay.
That guy was younger.
I like Hell's Paradise.
Yeah, it's great. It's fun. And the creativity and use of like flower motifs and Chinese
art is really
feng
nice.
shui and things like that.
I thought it was a Chinese.
It is. You've watched the anime, not the manga. Yeah. As they introduce the enemies more, you'll start to see more of that.
Is the person who created it Chinese or
No,
Japanese?
he's Japanese.
Oh.
So there's the author of Hell's Paradise. There is Tatsuki, not Tatsuki Fujimoto. Well, I'm completely blanking. I literally just said his name. But the author of
the author of
Dandadan. Yeah. He was an assistant and probably learned a lot. He'd worked on a few things, but clearly I don't know if it's working. He worked on Chainsaw Man as an assistant. I don't know if it's working on stuff with Fujimoto is like necessarily affecting their minds, but maybe it's more just like giving them exposure to somebody in the industry who is getting really creative and pushing boundaries and being like, why can't I do this? Why can't I take all of my love for film and like really mess with how borders work? in this? Why can't I draw 10 pages with no dialogue and make it compelling?
I venture to say that if you work with him, right?
And I think they have the same editor. So that
cool.
also probably helps. Like, hey, work with Shihei Lin, because he's like, and then Shihei's like, this guy worked for Fujimoto. I love what he's doing. I'm going to try to bring him up.
I'd venture to say that having access to Fujimoto and the editor,
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not there's direct influence on their minds or whatever, just having a mentor that shows that you can break the conventions of the art form does help in creating a freedom of expression for yourself.
It's the whole glass ceiling thing of like, you see somebody start to pave a path that maybe you didn't think that you could, or even if it's just they made the path easier for you because they did it.
So you have Hell's Paradise, you have Dandadan, you have Chainsaw Man.
Yep.
I wouldn't say Hell's Paradise is up there with Dandadan and Chainsaw Man, but
it's good. It's good, and it's
there's
also else? I can't remember their name, but there is one of his assistants created a short called to Peel the Flesh. It was a one shot, beautiful one shot. I think it's in the Shonen Jump app. And it is about a main character who is born as a young girl to a father. They live out in the wilderness, and her father hunts and teaches her to like skin animals and things. But she starts going through questioning how she identifies, and
gender.
Gender. And so, Peel the Flesh is both about the hunting and but also about like, what is she beneath her skin?
Is it?
And it's
super grounded.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And it's mostly just about her and figuring out who she is, and then like revealing that to her father eventually.
What?
It's a great one shot, and I don't know if they've done anything since, but like I love that one shot. I haven't seen anything from that person, but they're like, it's I wouldn't say it about most authors where it's just assistant to Oda from One Piece isn't gonna immediately make you check out your thing. Anybody who was an assistant for Fujimoto, I'm gonna give him a shot.
Yeah,
because there's just so many who've come out and done good things.
That one shot. So you
remind me after the episode. Yeah. I'll look for it and send it to you.
You probably know more about it than I do, but I mean, with Japan,
I've never seen that.
Their attitudes towards LGBTQ are very conservative.
They're more conservative than I would have said than the U.S., but yeah, they're pretty conservative. They're pretty conservative. Like they're not opposed to it, but like
for it to be covered.
I don't actually know if gay marriage is legal in Japan.
For it to be covered in
it's not common.
Manga is not.
It's not as common. And this was also like sometimes you have characters who just clearly are somewhere on the LGBTQ spectrum.
Yeah, you have that
series. But like this is literally about this character learning about themselves as they grow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we've recommended Dandadan so many times. We finally got out of the spoiler territory.
Yeah,
but it's fair to say if you enjoyed Fire Punch or Chainsaw Man or Look Back, because he spawns different series or different genres, anything any of his assistants have done, you'll probably find some enjoyment in. Even Spy Family, which at this point it doesn't feel as strong to me as when it started because I wish the main story was moving forward a lot. I still enjoy it because like the humor's still hitting. And I still love
the characters.
I still fun. Care about the characters, even if the story's.
But they're not. They're not moving within.
Yeah, it's
they're
very
not growing.
Moving,
it's just. Ugh.
We're. It's like bits and pieces.
Yes.
We just got a little. Currently, we're getting a bit more exposure to Damien's family and his mother Melinda.
Well, Damien.
Yeah.
I love those two.
And his mom.
But it's
good. It's just it's not moving as forward as much as I wish it was.
It feels like they're getting paid by the chapter.
It feels more like we talked about this, I think, in the prior episode. Like, just keep it going. Like, we would like you to keep your series going. Just keep it running.
Yeah, but who knows?
Yeah. Then again, if your character's that cute and fun, it's probably fun to just keep writing goofy stuff of their event. Like, do you read it?
Spy Family?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. There's like one chapter where they go to spoiler for one chapter, but it's worth it because I think it's half a chapter. They go to a ski lodge and then they're caught in a blizzard and there was a murder. And like brutal murder, and there's like a bunch of random people, and then they're there, and like Lloyd is like, I can't like show who I am, and yours like, I can't get out, and then Anya just reads the murderer's mind and just loosely says a thing to make it very obvious it was them, and then it just ends, and then the chapter continues.
Okay, I like that.
It opens as like it's gonna be a 3-episode how are they gonna get out?
It's going to be like a
Anya can read this person's mind.
Yeah, you forget about that. You're like, oh wait, that's a thing.
And it was like I doubled over just in my seat, like, oh man, he still gets me.
I like that. I like when anime like
if it wasn't still as funny when those like small stories were happening, I wouldn't enjoy it. But like this guy's nailed humor.
Yeah, it'd be great if it was just like one-offs. Like I think about like if you did like movies. You know?
I really want to get to the point where, and God knows how far away from, but like I want to get to the point where they all know about each other's stuff, and then they like they're still running Operation Strix, but they know about each other and they're like working together because you know that moment is going to be
going to happen, and
and hopefully it doesn't end shortly thereafter. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see them working together.
Yes, I hope when they finally do find out,
I feel appreciated.
I hope it isn't like Lloyd and Yor like against each other for like 2 seasons, and you're like, come on.
Yeah, I assume it's going to be like one moment, then they'll get past. But like Yor just constantly is feeling in doubt of herself, and I'm like, come on, just find out. Like Lloyd, be honest about your feelings.
We're all a little bit of Yor.
Yeah.
No, none of us are Lloyd.
No, not at all. I'm.
Oh wait, no.
There's one part. There's where we think we're super slick and we're hiding our feelings.
Okay, that, and I was also gonna say when he's always questioning if he's raising Anya, right?
Oh yeah. Did you see the movie, by the way? Did you guys see the movie?
Emily did.
Okay,
Emily did.
Okay, so I'll chat with her about that on another episode. It was cute.
Yeah.
It got put on streaming, so I ended up watching it.
Oh, I could watch
it.
it.
Yeah, it's like a cute, fun little. It's obviously not really connected.
Yeah, there's like a poop fairy.
Oh, for a moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's parts of it where like
that was when Emily came out. She's like, "There's a poop fairy,"
and it was funny. But this one's like the one where I'm like, okay, you had to have figured it out. Like how you two they do a thing where it's like, okay, suspension of disbelief is like so far, guys.
Yeah.
Like just fucking. And I know it's a movie. I'm like, just talk it out. Like clearly something's wrong here.
Have they made a live action Spy Family?
I don't think so.
I can't wait until they do. I want to see what pretty people they hire.
Oh,
they cast as those two.
Yeah, exactly. And what little gremlin they get for Anya. There was one other spoiler corner thing I was curious about. You're not as far, but you've been reading Berserk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm up to volume 10. I don't want to talk past where you are, but
yeah,
we did it as a one-off. You said you were enjoying it. I was curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I got to volume of the big volumes 4, so
which is
volume 11.
Yeah, it's the hardcovers, which are 3 together, so that's volumes 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah, I just got they just finished the Golden Phoenix or the White Phoenix.
Golden Age arc.
Golden Age arc, yeah, it was like the White Phoenix is at the end. Right?
So you met Femtone?
I met.
Spoilers for the Golden Age arc of Berserk. I'll put in a timestamp and potentially up to when they go into the Dark World.
I met Femto. I met Griffin. I don't know how Griffith. I don't know how Griffith turns into.
Okay, so you're not fully done with the Golden Age arc yet.
Yeah,
because that's where it ends.
I think it's really good. Berserk's really good.
Yeah.
You've told me a lot about how the author of the original mangaka died, and now people are taking it over, and that hasn't dipped in quality, which is great.
Yeah, you can maybe feel a little bit because I think it's fair to say he was unhealthily obsessed with his art. He would spend months and months working on a single chapter, and he was drawing digitally. He would zoom in and adjust individual lines in a shading that like you'd never notice. And you've seen his art. It's tons and tons of shading. Some pages are just mostly shading.
And it's beautiful, not like Attack on Titan, which is the ugliest shading I've ever seen.
Yeah. To be fair, that Isayama knows his art is bad. But yes, I mean, he was obsessive, and he would have been able to get a lot further in his story if he wasn't quite so obsessive about his art. This is back to that story of like you need somebody to tell you like on the business editor side like okay you gotta like
edit yourself a little bit,
and his team is still respected. I mean they're putting a chapter out every couple months. We just got 2 in the past like 2 months, but there was like a period of like 3 or 4 where we didn't.
It's very good. It makes sense why so many people have like.
What'd you say about the first chapter though when we talked about it because that was off camera? What'd you think when you started it?
When I started, I was
because I think I had the same feeling.
This is gonna suck. I was just thinking this is the most gym bro. Like
it's like edgy 14.
Yeah, edgy 14. I love boobs. I love blood.
Yeah.
Like
I'm gonna be Kirito.
It opens with him having sex with a woman who turns into a demon, and then he kills the demon.
Yeah. And
like there's so much nudity and so much blood. And like looking back, the art is beautiful.
Yeah.
But looking back, like
they throw you into the deep end.
I was just like, this. What is the point of this? Like it's just gratuitous.
Yeah.
And there's no reason, but it very quickly.
Yeah.
Changes.
And you also got to remember that came out in early 90s, I think. So like there wasn't a lot, like that at the time. So like you still would have been shocked by it, but you would have been like, oh, this is 80 of the things I've seen before.
I also imagine there's like you gotta hook the audience.
Yes.
Somebody's like you gotta get them in.
Especially because this was gonna be like a monthly series or
what did
I don't even think it was monthly.
Where did it release? Just on its own?
I think it's called Young Animal is the name of the magazine, which is monthly. And even at the beginning, I don't think he was doing
Shonen Jump.
I mean, it is funny to think about
Highlights magazine.
some of the stuff in Shonen Jump is like more adult than what we'd give kids, and some of it is like for children. Like the age range has skewed a bit.
Yeah, but the first couple of volumes, I was like,
that's why I told you I was like, it's gonna be a little grimdark, edgy at the beginning,
Yeah.
but like, and it is like, if it's absolutely worth reading. Kensuke Miura, the author of it, like Berserk inspired the grimdark fantasy. So if you enjoy Dark Souls and Demon Souls, you have Miura to thank for that. The I'm forgetting his name, but the guy who created Dark Souls, like they have credited Berserk as one of the main inspirations for them, and it kind of inspired this idea of like, hey, this fantasy world is gonna be, there's demons, and otherwise it's realistic to like the Middle Ages. It sucks. Everybody dies meaninglessly for no reason. You can get murdered for no reason, and no one's gonna give a shit.
In the most gruesome way or the most silent way?
Being a woman sucked.
Sucks. It's terrible.
And there's that in this series.
Being poor sucks.
Yes, and I wouldn't say it's
being a little boy sucks.
It's gratuitous in the sense that like we're not used to it, but like for the series, it fits. It sucks sometimes. I mean, there's death of children. There's horrible violence against women. People commit atrocities to their family members, but it's about darkness, the darkness within people, and then there's literally this demon world, which is like a manifestation of that. But it's a good story. And also, once you get past the Golden Age, and maybe one arc past it, it starts to lighten up a little bit in the sense that like, I can't. I mean, you can kind of see where it is in the Golden Age, where like he's got a party, and like he even if he's gruff about it, he does. Guts, the main character, has connection to some of the people with him.
I think that's the only.
And that's what he needs is people.
Yeah, I think what he needs people. I think that's the only complaint I have up to the volume that I'm at is that it's all about Guts, and I think Guts is a compelling character, but he's not exactly silent, but he's a silent protagonist.
A little bit.
So without
especially in the beginning, he's very silent.
Yeah, without a strong supporting cast, you just get a little bit like
the cast.
You get a little bit tired.
The cast in the Golden Age is nice, but when you get past that and he starts to accumulate some more allies, they're a stronger cast. And he talks more.
Yeah,
and it's.
I mean, even
there's still
now,
there's still periods like there's one I'm in right now where we're dipping straight back into like everything sucks and people are gonna die. But like it moves more in waves.
Yeah.
Where you're like, hey, it's hard to tell if this is gonna end good or bad.
So,
but at least there's moments of light.
My question then is, why has this never been able to get a really good anime adaptation?
One easy factor I think is there's so many large scale battles.
Okay.
And you've probably seen it in a few anime where they're doing things with crowds and it's just CGI.
I'm looking forward to the War of the Rohirrim.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, but that's what
but that required a lot of work and b it's a movie. You know,
it would require the budget of
it's not
a Western
200
studio,
episode anime.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the issue is they're like we need to show the scale and the gravity of these things that are occurring.
Yeah.
Especially if you've seen them go into the. I want to call it the demon world. I don't actually think that's what
they went for a little bit.
So you've seen how like
it's
insane
like
everything
Escher,
around it, but like all of it moves and like things are attacking people, and there's just a lot of large scale things happening, and I think that's challenging to do. Yeah. And they want to make the action look good because even though the manga is drawn, his
there's so
movement that's shown. It's very clever in the way that he demonstrates it.
Yeah, a lot of like modern manga like doesn't do a great job.
That was my issue with JJK.
Drawing action.
Yeah, there's a number of series. So Sakamoto Days in Shonen Jump does a really good job with it, which is why I'm excited for the anime, although hesitant because of the trailer I saw. JJK, I don't think the manga action, sometimes it's easy to follow and sometimes I'm like, I can't tell what's going on the page.
Sometimes it's confusing.
Yeah.
Sometimes
and it's hard. Like that is a very hard thing. I'm not saying I can do it, but then you can see when people are good at it.
My Hero was also confusing.
Sometimes, Towards the end, I felt like it was a little easier at the beginning, and then powers got big, and it got hard to follow because like they're knocking over a mountain.
I remember having to like flip pages back and forth. Like, wait,
Chainsaw Man was also pretty good at that. He's pretty good.
Chainsaw Man was
conveying it, but that's a skill, and the part of that is Miura did this, and obviously Fujimoto does this. Looking at people, the white spots of manga, I'm sure they grew up on, and like what does it well, and also thinking like, okay, what could I do that maybe nobody has done? Like maybe there's a better way to do this. And that's something Sakamoto does, I think, does really well. It's like the action in is really clever and interesting, and it's like a more actiony John Wick of like anything could be a weapon kind of thing. So they'll be like jumping on a car and like ripping out the steering wheel, and here's how I'd use it as a weapon, and like just clever things, but like you can follow it all.
So the
Skill.
short answer is the scale of Berserk is so large.
I think that's a big part of it.
In anime, to do it justice in anime would require a budget that is unrealistic.
I've heard the first Berserk anime is not terrible.
We should watch it.
Yeah, I think we should do that. We'll pick that out. I think we should. I think there's been 2 or 3. We should watch a little bit of the 2 bad ones, but like actually give the one that people say is okay a shot. And I think it's the first one. It's the one from the 90s.
I'd love to see it with like the animations, like that old animation style, like Aeon Flux, Ghost in the Shell, like that type.
Have you seen clips of like what the more recent bad ones look like? It's so janky. Like picture like when we were growing up with computers and it's like you built a 3D model and like it kind of moved like it was on strings. It looks like that. Like obviously the graphics of the visuals of it are slightly better, but that's the movement.
The first video I made was a Bionicle stop motion video.
Nice.
It took me like 3 hours and I got like 9 seconds.
Did Bionicle get a animated series?
I got movies.
Okay.
I watched
animated movies.
Yeah, okay. Animated movies. Live action.
Yeah.
I watched I think the first 2.
Okay.
And then I think I just grew out of it, but I still love Bionicle. Like every once in a while I go on eBay and I search for Bionicle sets. I'm a Kopaku fan. I love the ice.
Oh, that's the name of it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I was not into it enough.
He was the white.
My cousin was into it, so I would like see his toys. I'm like, these are cool. I'm not going this route.
I still go to eBay and I'm like, how much are they? And if they're like,
are they a lot?
No, like some of them are like $30, but like you bought them for like 12. So if I can find some, like maybe one day.
But also like with inflation, I don't even know if they're really making money.
Oh, with the tariffs coming. Speaking of tariffs, sales.
Yes.
Sales. So
I was trying to think of a
segue.
I couldn't even think of the word segue. Much like the segue creator, my sentence went off a cliff there.
So we're all trying to save money, and Black Friday is coming up,
and we're all trying to stock up before everything gets more expensive.
Yeah. So actually, well, let me finish the thought, and then I'll go into it. Black Friday's coming up. What are we looking forward to picking up? And then my thought was, this year I've seen a lot of like Black Friday sales. It's actually just like all of November. They're like, we're just doing Black Friday for all of November. But what are you looking forward to?
It seemed like it was going that way from prior years too, where it's like you got a week. So I always try to pick up manga volumes for series that I'm following, or some that like I read Dungeon Meshi Delicious in Dungeon online. I want to get the volumes for that, so I might see if I can pick that up. And some other series that I'm just currently following. That's usually a big thing. I check like Barnes and Noble and Kinokuniya and other bookstores tend to have sales. And I usually peruse figures on now it's Crunchyroll's website. It used to be Red Stuff and a couple others.
Oh yeah.
And usually I'll open like 30 tabs in my internet browser, and then I'll like, these are the ones that like caught my attention. Now go through and pick 1 or 2.
Yeah, like
compare them. Like
what my budget really to under $200.
Yeah, start closing and comparing them.
Yeah.
And yeah. All right, we're down to 2 views. Oh well.
2 views. Yeah.
So I tend to look for things like that. There's not many major electronics that I need, so it's more like printed media at this point.
Honestly, like I feel like electronic sales on Black Friday are never that.
They're not good. It's not the time to
buy.
buy.
The best time is actually, I've read and I've experienced it, is Super Bowl weekend.
Oh, interesting, because everybody's trying to get new TVs and stuff.
Yeah, it's like that's the time to buy.
Okay. What about you? What are you looking for?
For me.
I'm interested to hear because I saw this and I was like, I need to look into it.
Emily and I were headed to Japan for Thanksgiving for the 2 weeks, the week before and the week of Thanksgiving. So being in Japan, it's just like because of the exchange rate, it's like sales.
You're not really looking at Black Friday so much. You're just like
looking in Japan.
I mean, Emily will probably, knowing Emily, she will also be looking at the manga sales. But
but some of the things that I'm looking forward to on Black Friday, one is Atsuko. They usually hold good sales, but
I've held off on getting stuff from them for the same reason.
Another one is Vandy the Pink, is a brand, and they're doing a collab with Pokemon.
Interesting.
We'll put it up on the screen, but they're releasing on the 16th. They're releasing all of this Pokemon apparel, and they have these really cute fleeces. And there's a Machop fleece, Snorlax fleece, an Umbreon fleece, and one more fleece. They sort of look like onesies, like your Kigurumis. But just the stuff that they're releasing, they have a Charizard bomber. The stuff that they're releasing is Pokemon, but it actually looks good.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
And we talked about that. Like, there's so many different styles of anime print. Like, I'm not looking for just a t-shirt with, like,
I'm looking
a
for them to
JJK
do
face on it,
something
and then
with
giant
it.
text saying it's JJK.
Yeah, like
And Oxco does some stuff like that. This stuff they've got some stuff like this. Like it's a little more subtle. Like, hey, if you
Yeah.
know what this is, you know what this is.
which is difficult because a lot of these properties, and a lot of Japanese companies, they're very particular about how their licenses are
we
used.
talked to one
Yeah.
person at a con. I won't say which company, but they had said that they get very particular rules about how they're allowed to use it, and that's probably one of the reasons. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons that you tend to kind of see the same style of things.
Yeah.
Because like you need to put the faces, you need to put the name so people know what it is.
The name
it needs to
cannot
be
be
in the official. It
obstructed.
needs to be in the official
Yeah.
font. Yeah.
Obstructed. Yeah, it needs to be the certain colors can only be used.
Yeah.
Like it's
Make sure you put
So
big
many.
like copyright Shueisha on it.
oh yeah, and then it has to have Bandai on the tag.
Yeah.
Like there's all these restrictions, but
But those look cool.
I think Vandy
So,
is doing a good
You
job.
got some clothes that you're keeping an eye on.
Clothes, and then more clothes. So I've talked about. I'm gonna go into it, but I've talked about Ametora before, which is short for like American traditional. So there's a whole book about it that I recommend. But basically, it comes down to in World War II, because of Japan's involvement in World War II and all the embargoes. After World War II, Japan was severely hampered. They looked at American GIs sort of as like, oh, they're doing.
And America had a
well.
massive presence in
Yes,
Japan at
they-
the time.
Huge. So with all the cultural erosion and like the GIs being there, the Japanese youth, they looked and romanticized like American clothing as a sign of like wealth, as a sign of
And also as a
status.
sign of like, hey, we've kind of been very insular for the past couple decades, and now something very different has come in.
Decades, centuries, whatever.
Well, I was just thinking especially like
specifically within
like the early 1900s.
So with the culture of like their culture of like perfection and dedication to a craft, they started building their own American clothing, and then like in the 80s, America started shifting towards mass production, right, offshoring things, whereas Japan, they kept it in there. So
in some areas they've got Uniqlo, but yeah,
but
at least they've kept that more than we did.
Yes, they still have a very strong what's the word? I don't know the
Passion
word.
for
Passion for recreating old school American.
I was going to ask.
clothing,
This is
military
like this
workwear.
is in the style of like 40s, 50s, 60s. Like
Yeah, 40s, 50s, 60s, and then they've modernized it a bit. But you can really see it in denim, in military wear. So like they call it repro or like reproduction. So they recreate like military stuff, and then boots. So in New York City, a couple of stores that I check out that they don't have the best sales, but they do have some sales. Standard and Strange, Self Edge, Blue and Green. Those are retailers down in Soho.
This is for boots.
They carry
All
boots,
of
they
it.
carry denim, they carry military stuff. And then in Japan, where I'm looking is like Buzz Rickson, Real McCoys. They do a lot of repro stuff. So that's what I'm looking for. Specifically, I'm looking for boots. So Okayama and Osaka, that's where denim is. But boots, Asakusa.
Okay.
There's
Interesting.
boots company. So I'm looking at Rolling Dub Trio, looking for some horsehide boots over there.
Okay. It's very specific.
Yeah, and I'm also looking for some vintage workwear in Shimokita. Shimokitazawa has a lot of good stuff. And then there is a Montreal-based brand called Naked and Famous.
Okay.
They do denim. And there's a lot of denim heads are gonna roll their eyes if they're watching this that I like Naked and Famous, because there's a lot more meticulous brands like Japanese-based brands, Oni, Samurai, Tanuki. Newly branded was like Momotaro. They do a lot of like
I love that they're all named for like just mythical figures.
yeah. So they do like some good stuff. But what Naked and Famous does is their jeans, they like to use very unique fabrics.
Okay.
And they do an incredible job of storytelling.
Unique
and
fabric.
contextualizing
like,
the
denim
fabric.
or like just
Yeah,
a different type of denim.
So they use different denim. So denim traditionally is you have it's a weft and a warp.
Okay.
So weft goes one way, the warp goes the other way, and it's like a 1-2 weave. So like goes one, and then you go over two of them, and then one over two of them to create that like strong material. Now, typically you use like a white warp and an indigo weft, right? And that's why they tend to like fade into white. Okay. What they do is they'll change how they dye their materials. They'll change how they sanforize the material or cut the material or burn the material. For example, the pants that I'm wearing now, these pants are a red core. So they're indigo on top, They're reactive, so it's a reactive dye red. So as this indigo wears off, they'll turn red.
Interesting.
Yeah, and underneath it's still white, but they do they do like these fun fabrics. They'll do like fabrics with like gold in them. They'll do fabrics where they use cotton sourced from different areas of the world. It's really nerdy stuff, but they contextualize it really well in creating a story around it, explaining like why they like this material, where it came from, what it means to them, and they'll like create stories around it. Like they usually do Halloween releases. They had a Michael Myers release, or Mike Myers, I forget. No, Mike Myers is the comedian. Michael Myers, the one with the mask.
Michael Myers, who cares?
They did an Elvira one, but they do a big Black Friday sale.
Oh.
So I'm really looking forward to that sale
Japanese
as well.
Or wait, this is
they're Montreal based.
Okay. So that's why they're aware of doing a Black Friday sale, because I don't think Japanese companies care.
Yeah, they're Montreal based. They have a store in New York as well.
Okay.
But all of their materials are sourced, or majority of materials like come through Japan and Yokohama. They have like people out there working. So yeah, Naked and Famous. Really looking forward to that too.
Out of curiosity, and I'm sure, like, what is the range of jeans when you're looking at denim where they're putting that much work into it? Like, that's got to cost. Yeah,
cost-wise?
It's got to run you a lot more.
On sale, you can get them like $150-ish. Retail or 150
lower than what I was expecting to hear.
I'd say average price is about like 200-ish. Okay. On sale, like 100 to 150.
And are these the jeans where you need to like sit in the bath with them to get them wet?
Some yes, some not. Okay. Some yes, some not. So there's like a thing called sanforization. Excuse me. Where and washing the jeans, where they'll like literally wash the fabric so it shrinks before, and then they'll make the garment. Okay. So that way you know what size it is. Some people like the shrink to fit stuff where it's unsanforized, so they put it on, they go in the shower, they shrink it, it shrinks to your body.
I have a manga chapter recommendation for you. 3 chapters.
What?
It's called Witch Watch. The author of Scat Dance, which was like a rom-com series where like it's one of those like the characters will do things for 20 or 30 chapters and then they'll move the romance forward a little bit. Witch Watch is the same. The main character in it is like an obsessive type character, so if he finds things, he gets really upset. He is super obsessed with denim and like Ametora and stuff. And so there's been a few chapters where he just talks people's ear off about what he's doing and like why they should care about a particular piece of clothing, and like just shut up. And he's super into it.
There's actually there's an award called Best Jeanist.
That's funny.
In Japan.
In Japan?
Yeah, which is
where I wonder if that's why they named the character. That must be why they named the character.
Probably.
I didn't know.
Probably. So denim's a huge thing, but okay. I'll
so how many pairs of jeans are you coming back with?
I don't know. Hopefully not too much. I mean, like, how many jeans can you wear?
I realized I'm actually I don't have any jeans in my apartment right now, except I have one pair that has like an insulated like
a flannel lining.
But I thought I had like a pair or two, and I don't. All I have is like the stretchy type stuff. And
Uniqlo makes great jeans.
I need to get a couple pairs of just like jeans again.
I mean, if you're looking for cheap salvage jeans, Uniqlo does a really good job. They
I don't mind paying a bit more if they're like good quality.
Yeah.
It's just that's a cliff I'm not looking to jump off at full speed.
If you're looking,
I was like, I'm gonna cut back to this clip in the editing and write down some of these names.
If you're looking for good quality for like not too,
but I'm not ready to wash
too crazy
jeans to fit me. I'd rather like go in and be like, does this fit? Okay.
Uniqlo's great. Wrangler makes good jeans, and they're like you can buy Wranglers for $30.
Are denim better now in terms of like being somewhat stretched? Like, you know, old jeans I had, like you're not doing a squat. They're kind of like you're just fitting. Are they a little better now than they used to be?
It depends on the material. If it has stretch or not, stretch definitely is better.
I've grown to value that too much.
I think now it's a little bit easier because now the fits are getting a little bit wider.
Yeah,
like, remember like in the 2010s, everything was super skinny fit.
Even into the well, I mean, you can see the jeans I'm wearing now. Like most of mine are like this now.
But you remember like when they were like
yes,
and you would bend over and your cracks out.
I had one pair of jeans like that, and they were not stretchy, and I got rid of those.
Well, we all did it, right? Like,
we
had like the super tight jeans.
You wear them to go out, and you're like, I'm not sitting down anywhere.
Yeah, and you don't sit down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it depends on stretch.
Yeah.
Depends on stretch. But I will send you recommendations.
Cool.
For all of those.
And then we'll hear when you guys get back what you came back with.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the vintage shops, man. I mean, you can find so much stuff. I mean, now with the push towards sustainability
Mhm.
and with inflation the way it is and potential tariffs coming out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I might come back from Japan with a drone because it'll be cheaper there.
Yeah. I mean, things are cheaper in other countries and
It's not right
secondhand-
now. Right now, drone. I looked in Japan last time I was there. Same price. Like,
Yeah.
there's no point in buying an electronic in Japan.
Oh,
That
electronic,
if you,
yeah.
If you could get it here, but like, if prices go up here, I might just go to Japan. I might make a trip to Japan for
I
electronics.
feel like here electronics and obviously made in USA stuff is a lot cheaper here.
Yeah.
But secondhand is great.
it's huge
Secondhand
there.
is great.
Yeah.
Then they do a good job of curating it too.
Yeah. And then while you're doing that, I will see if I can push Emily to go check out Nakano Broadway and check out all the figures there.
Oh, we're going to Nakano Broadway.
Yeah.
And I'm
You
looking
can go
at-
look at the watches, and
I'm
she can
gonna
look
look
at
at watches.
all the
I'm gonna come back with
The-
a watch and a Miku
the one
figure.
the Dojin I brought back from her was from one of the bookstores there. The My Hero one? Oh, did she actually keep it? I wasn't sure if she was just
We
gonna
have it.
throw it away.
Yeah,
Like I literally I brought back a jokingly a BL Dojin I picked up in Nakano Broadway, and I was like, you can throw this away. I just think it's funny to hand it to you.
God.
And I just went in blind and grabbed one. And in the shelving there, the way they separate Dojins is by which pairing you're looking for.
Really?
Yeah, so that's Deku Bakugo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the section. Like there was My Hero, and then it breaks down into Deku X Bakugo, Deku X whoever, like that's how they separate. Because like you don't necessarily know the authors.
That's all heresy. The only one they need is Gojo Geto.
Oh man, there's gonna be a massive section. You said I'm texting Emily. She's gonna come back with a bag full.
We need a Gojo Geto shelf.
Yeah, exactly. Just to squeeze right in there.
Best ship in the universe.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we're good for now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. You wanna plug our socials.
Oh yeah, I should probably do. I was literally like, he's looking at me to do a thing, and I don't remember what.
I'm
if you wanna
just-
check out shorts that we're posting, we're on Instagram and TikTok at Perfectly Mid. Obviously, YouTube is Perfectly Mid Pod. We'll be posting shorts here as well. Some stuff from the podcast, funny little moments, but also random clips. Like we recorded some of our thoughts of best moments at New York Comic Con. We got a vid coming up of Emily opening up a mystery box, and we'll just have to see what's inside of it. And if this works, us trying to bike through Central Park in 50-degree weather, talking about, well, you'll have to tune in to find out.
Yeah. All right. Perfectly mid. Bye.
Here's hoping we don't crash.
Bye.